Yo, I think as a YouTuber, you gotta put your opinions behind you. I gotta learn to do that. Today's not the day though. Um. Anyways, this is Drake and Josh, man. They was like friends, and they weren't friends, and now they're friends again. This is all about healing. Um. I ain't even gonna lie, bro. After all this stuff, Josh would have been like, "Hey, I messed up, man. I want to get back together. I want us to be friends again." I'm saying, fuck you, Josh. Fuck you, man. How we got the same name and you're worse than me? I'm talking about me, not Drake. Anyways, Drake, nah, man. Josh was turning on Drake Bell at the worst time of his life when nobody was believing in him. They was all calling him names and stuff, and Josh would go in there and be like, "Yeah, man, you're a trash human being." Like, yo, Josh, where did this come from? That was your brother, your friend. Hey, Google, set a 30-minute timer.
Second timer for 30 minutes. Starting now.
Here we go.
On the set of the iconic Nickelodeon sitcom Drake and Josh, the two boys seemed to be best friends, but that wasn't exactly the case. One was going through some of the darkest atrocities imaginable, and the other was also experiencing an extremely complicated childhood, but they did not tell each other what was going on, and as a result, the two had one of the most catastrophic public falling outs in Nickelodeon history. For years, fans have wondered exactly what went wrong, why their relationship soured, and recently they came together and discussed everything on a 2-hour podcast that connected all of the missing pieces that we were left in the dark about for decades. While most celebrity stories and feuds feel unrealistic and manicured to fuel public interest, the story of Drake and Josh's complicated relationship is very relatable. Sure, none of us can truly relate to the pressure of being a child star while also dealing with the horrors behind the scenes, but the complications between Drake and Josh resemble a difficult relationship that you might have with a friend, uncle, cousin, or other family member. One that follows a cycle of love, hate, tension, animosity, remorse, guilt, and reconciliation. Drake and Josh's story is not some fleeting celebrity drama. So today we're going to discuss the entire thing while addressing all of the nuances and complications of a real-life relationship.
My name is Yvonne, and I'm from Hickson. I had an experience.
Drake and Josh's lifelong troubled relationship started from the very first time they met. Drake did not like Josh, and Josh was determined to win him over. The then 14-year-old boys met on the set of The Amanda Show, which was a sketch comedy television program that was essentially the kid-friendly version of Saturday Night Live, starring Amanda Bynes. Belle was a part of the cast since its first episode in 1999, while Peck didn't join as a regular until later seasons.
I came on The Amanda Show. We didn't get along at first, but I thought you were so cool, and I really wanted you to like me. And then, thankfully, we had this shared love of old school comedy and sitcoms and great television. And so once you realized that I was kind of funny and I liked people who liked funny, we were suddenly like inseparable.
Yeah. At first, Drake was almost second to Amanda, and Josh came on as a tertiary character that they would sometimes make fun of. But once Drake and Josh had to collaborate on a sketch as two Italian mobsters, they realized their comedic chemistry was undeniable.
Pony pajamas, what's your problem, Pigtails?
Yeah, what's your problem, Pigtails? I can't sleep. You want I should put her out?
Not yet.
Hey, cannoli? No, I just want to hear a bedtime story. She just wants to hear a bedtime story.
Hey, I got it.
He's got his.
And 25 years later, that chemistry is still there.
She wants to hear about a story.
Oh, you want to hear a story? I got a story. All right, so you got this. There's this guy, right? He's driving his bike, and he falls off, and his kickstand goes right through his leg.
Right through his leg.
Drake was an old soul as a kid, and became a huge fan of classic buddy comedies such as Abbott and Costello and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Drake dreamed of one day having a comedy sidekick, and he officially found his match. The two boys became good friends off-screen as well. They would go bowling bowling, hang out after hours, and even have sleepovers. The Amanda Show became the highest-rated live-action program on Nickelodeon during its run, and while this may seem like an amazing way to start a child acting career, Drake was suffering unimaginable trauma as a pedophile had infiltrated the Nickelodeon network. It's very important to remember that the general public was not aware of the information that you're about to learn until 2024 when it was discussed in a documentary called Quiet on Set. This documentary drastically changed everything that people thought they knew about Drake Bell. Drake Bell formed a bond with dialogue coach Brian Peck during the second season of The Amanda Show. Peck, who has no relation to Drake's co-star Josh Peck, would invite Drake to his house for acting lessons. These lessons were supervised by Drake's father, Joe, who was told that Brian Peck was a skilled coach who could help Drake secure more acting opportunities. However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian and just touch Drake. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people.
Joe claims that while his son was in the dressing room, Brian would touch Drake in front of others in ways that made him question Brian's intentions. Joe expressed his concerns with the production personnel and said he was uncomfortable with Brian, only to be called homophobic because of Brian's sexual orientation. Therefore, Joe backed off. Once this got back to Brian, he manipulated Drake into severing ties with his father/manager, suggesting that Joe was sabotaging Drake's career. Peck subsequently integrated himself into multiple areas of Bell's life and became a father figure for the young actor. Eventually, Peck convinces Drake's mother to let him stay at his house during auditions. Then when Drake slept on Brian's couch, the sexual assault.
You think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault, and that'll answer your question.
Drake wouldn't tell anyone for several months. The abuse persisted until Drake began spending more time at a girlfriend's house. One day, when he was supposed to meet with Brian, Drake said he didn't want to hang out. Brian then started calling his phone nonstop. When Drake failed to answer, Brian obsessively started calling his girlfriend's house, which is when the girlfriend's mother suspected something was wrong and took Drake to her family therapist. He later detailed the abuse to his own mother, who called the police. I had to be excruciatingly detailed about every single thing and time that it had happened with two absolute strangers. The worst part was I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit what he'd done. The police monitored a wired phone call with Brian, who broke into a full-on confession that led to his arrest. The investigation was conducted privately, and Bell remained unidentified to the public for several years due to his age at the time. Drake also refused to tell anyone what was going on, not even his best bro Josh. As if this situation couldn't get any more traumatic and confusing for Drake, before the trial he also needed to return to Nickelodeon Studios to begin filming for his next major role on Drake and Josh.
That big break between Drake and Josh and Amanda Show is when I told my mom what was going on. We went to the police, the investigation, all of the stuff that you saw in the documentary. That was when all of that was going on. And then when we shot the pilot, we were in the middle of the investigation, but nobody had known anything because Brian hadn't been arrested. I had to come back. Like the Amanda Show, where the dude was, where the abuse was happening, was, you know, having the monster in your own in your safe place. Still, where I felt most comfortable, where I was the happiest, was when I was on set with you guys. And the worst part was every day I got there, was the monster was there, you know?
Even though Drake was forced to interact with his abuser daily, he did everything in his power to hide his pain and focus on his work. But Josh suspected something was wrong as Drake seemed standoffish.
I was just looking at it through the prism of a 14-year-old's brain, going like, he doesn't want much to do with me. And
Josh essentially thought that Drake just stopped liking him, not knowing the horrors of Drake's abuse. At the same time, Drake also felt a little bit of tension from Josh, but was blaming himself.
I've got all this stuff that nobody knows about that's going on. Is this going to hurt our show? Is this going to, when this drops, is Josh going to look at me and be like, bro, you took our dream away. Like, you took my dream, like everything, like, are we going to lose our show?
Drake even said he started losing his hair due to all the stress he was feeling. But then the investigation into Brian's crimes was coming to a close, and some of that pressure was starting to subside, knowing that justice would be served. Drake even decided to tell Dan Schneider about his abuser right before the trial.
And when Drake and I talked and he told me what had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech for the judge? And I said, of course.
Brian Peck was convicted of child molestation in 2004, pleading no contest to a charge of oral copulation with a minor under 16 and a charge of performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old. He spent only 16 months in prison and was mandated to register as a sex offender. Josh, again unaware of what was going on, one day realized that he stopped seeing Brian on set and with Drake, so he asked Drake what happened.
I had a feeling because Brian, who was ever present during the Amanda show, and then he was gone, and I didn't know anything except I had a feeling something happened. And I remember we're in the car. It was you, me, and Jill, and I said, "You still talk to Brian?" And you just looked at me like, "No, Brian's a really bad guy." And I remember thinking, "Gotcha," and it was all that I needed to know. And I didn't know anything more than that, but I was like, that's clear.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Although Drake's pain was not magically gone once Brian was arrested, he was able to find joy again in acting now that his abuser was not on set. However, Josh was also suffering from his own complicated life struggles. Now, by comparison, they seem menial to Drake's, but you have to consider that children feel like they are the center of their own universe, and they don't have that worldly perspective to make sense of their pain. Josh Peck was raised by a single mother, actually never even meeting his father. He was the result of a short fling his mother had with a coworker. Him and his mother went through drastic ups and downs, sometimes living a comfortable middle-class life and other times not knowing if they will be able to pay rent. To compound this struggle, he was using food as an escape, leading to him becoming very overweight.
I didn't know that I was sort of eating in an unhealthy way. I just felt like I eat fruit snacks like every other kid. I just, do it in an excessive way. So I think that pain was just born out of what we all feel, is that it hurts to be different and it hurts to know that life is going to be challenging.
Josh also used stand-up comedy and his television roles to escape his internal battles. Perhaps this is what made the two such a great duo. A silver lining to these young boys experiencing a traumatic childhood was that when they came together, they felt safe and comfortable. And because of that, they created one of the greatest live-action shows in Nickelodeon history. Drake Parker and Josh Nichols were two brothers bound by their parents' marriage, forced to live in the same house, go to the same school, hang out with the same friends, while having totally opposite personalities. Josh was the hefty, emotional dork, while Drake was a smooth-talking ladies' man who led a rock band. It was common that the Nickelodeon writers made Josh the butt of the joke. I mean, it's very easy to pick on the overweight, goofy kid. Drake, on the other hand, would often be this glamorized bad boy. He was lazy, rude, and self-centered. He would not stand up for his brother Josh. He would go hang out with girls and friends without him, and basically had a hard time accepting Josh as his brother.
Okay. I actually didn't complete college. For the past 16 years, I've been in sales. I've been stuck in survival mode. And so when I sat down...
Here's my vision. I see your band in a desert. The sun beats down, little creature scampers by. Perhaps a lizard.
Oh, here's my vision. I don't care about your vision. The video should show off my band.
And although the show produced some hilarious moments when the brothers were pitted against each other...
You made that whole story up. No, you started that fight. You calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther.
The best episodes were usually when they had to work together to get themselves out of ridiculous situations.
You gotta get me out of this. I want to be cooler, but I can't go out there and play against the toughest team in the state. Okay. He's thinking. He's snapping. I got an idea. He's got an idea. Okay, you need to stop that. Done.
During season 3, Josh started to grow taller and lost a noticeable amount of weight, so the show's writers could not just resort to cheap fat jokes, but they still often made him a punching bag.
Why don't you just shave that thing off? No,
All right, ever since I've grown this mustache, people treat me differently. I get more respect.
Hey, Josh. Helen wants you to go down to the basement and empty the rat traps.
You see? Helen never let me do that before.
Package for Josh Nichols.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Don't tell me what to do.
Although Drake warmed up to Josh eventually, his character remained the inconsiderate troublemaker, and often the show reminded us how rude he actually was.
I have to take Helen home, right? And I need you to follow me so I can get a ride back.
Kiss pretty girl, drive brother in traffic.
While we know that this is merely just actors leaning into their characters for the sake of comedy, and now we love them both for playing these roles so well, you have to remember that the target audience for this show were children, and it appeared to them that Drake was the main character and Josh was the sidekick, which is essentially proven by the fact that Drake won 10 Kids' Choice Awards and Josh only won once. It was clear that Drake was the fan favorite, and Josh kind of understood because he also idolized Drake since they first met, but at the same time, Josh was 50% of the show. Some would argue that Josh's one-liners and physical humor is what actually made the show so successful.
Whoa, what's this?
Just getting ready for my big dinner. Drake, what are you doing here? You're never home Saturday night.
I told you, tonight's my big fight with Lucy.
No, you never said that. Never said that, okay? You never said you were gonna be home Saturday.
Well, I am. Ooh, olives.
Okay, paws off my olives!
In addition to this imbalance on-screen, off-screen, Josh was still going through tough times. Because of his weight, he felt like he was missing out on a normal teenage life, the life that Drake was seemingly living.
I just knew that I felt like because I was so insecure, I had missed out on a lot of my teenage years. It wasn't without lack of opportunity to go out and be a knucklehead and experience life. I just didn't want to do it because I didn't love the body that I was in. So I felt like if I didn't act now, I was going to lose some really important years.
Josh got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and he spent his summers walking through New York City for miles while slowly making better food choices. His consistency led to him losing a total of 127 pounds in 3 years. This physical transformation had a profound effect on the Drake and Josh show. His new body seemed to make him more confident in pursuing physical comedy on screen.
Drake!
Hang on, I'm busy.
Mindy just told me she loves me. What? Oh.
Tell me exactly how you responded when Mindy said, I love you.
I didn't know what to say, so I just said, seeing chemistry, and I slammed the door in her face.
And as a result, season 4 of the show produced some of the most hilarious and memorable moments.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw.
Dude, I'm gonna.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So go get the power saw.
Okay, I will. I see the problem.
Oh, do ya?
The Drake and Josh series premiere was watched by 3.2 million viewers, the network's highest rated series premiere in nearly 10 years. Episodes regularly saw viewership upwards of 5, 6, 7 million. As of 2006, the show ranked consistently among the 10 most watched cable shows across all of television. It was a certified hit, creating core memories for kids all around the world. After the show, people just assumed these two remained great friends and rode off into the Hollywood sunset, becoming successful actors, but that wasn't exactly the case. Drake continued his dominance at Nickelodeon as a top star. Josh, on the other hand, wanted to develop a career outside of the kids' network, while simultaneously entering the darkest part of his life. One might assume that his amazing physical transformation had nothing but a positive impact on his life, but Josh says otherwise. It became clear that once I lost the weight, that I was the same head in a new body. I had this illusion of becoming more confident and attractive when I was partaking. I was trying to quiet that voice that woke me up every morning and told me I wasn't enough. In an attempt to live the teenage experience to the fullest while he still had a couple years to do it, he went overboard, falling victim to a dangerous drug and alcohol addiction.
And suddenly I'm like now looking like a normal kid and a normal teen. And I'm like, oh, they do drugs, and that's normal. And they go to house parties, and they go to clubs, and they show up late to places, and they're unreliable, and that's normal. And I died to be normal. And I remember when I finally said yes, I had no conception that this drug would make me feel any different, that it was extreme. All I thought was, I hope she's watching, and oh good, I'm normal.
While Josh was going through hard times, Drake was receiving very consistent work over the years doing voice acting roles in shorts, TV shows, and movies. His most notable role was Peter Parker in Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man animated series. When he wasn't doing voiceovers, he was writing and releasing his own music. Interestingly enough, his records weren't very popular in the United States, but were huge in various Spanish-speaking countries. The Drake and Josh Nickelodeon show was extremely popular in Latin countries, likely due to the excellent job the production team did with dubbing the actors' voices. Drake always wanted to be a rock star, ever since his earliest days on The Amanda Show in 2001. He released music consistently for 17 years but received no gold or platinum records in America. However, in Mexico and other various Spanish-speaking countries, Drake Bell, aka Drake Campana, had multiple high-charting Billboard singles and albums. In some of these countries, he performed shows for thousands of people. He learned to speak Spanish. He has written and released a ton of music in Spanish. He even provides Spanish subtitles with every podcast or social media post he makes. People have joked on social media that he ran away to Mexico to avoid charges of his 2020 crimes, when in reality he was more successful there for over a decade and probably made most of his income in Latin-speaking countries.
And what's it like in Mexico? Because you moved to Mexico, right? It seems amazing.
It's unbelievable, bro. You have no idea.
Tell me more, Drake Campana.
It's unbelievable. In Mexico, we were on Channel 5. We were on After Friends or Seinfeld. It's like we're on normal TV. Everyone watched us. We weren't a kids show. There's a place called Veeps. It's like Denny's. The menu for the children's menu is us, bro.
What?
Like when you buy Doritos, you buy whatever, and you open them up, like the little prizes inside is us.
Despite Josh's addiction and unreliability, he successfully broke the child star curse he was so desperate to escape from, and he did that with his role as Luke Shapiro in The Whackness. This coming-of-age dramedy set in 1994 in New York City follows a teenage drug dealer who trades weed for therapy sessions with his eccentric psychiatrist. Infused with 90s hip-hop culture, the film explores themes of adolescence, depression, love, and self-discovery. The Whackness premiered at the 2008 Sundance Film Festival, where it won the Audience Award for Dramatic Feature. Josh had finally achieved success outside of the goofy fat guy trope he thrived in his whole career, yet he realized it did not fill the empty void he was feeling in his life.
I had this realization, which was, oh no, you're bottomless. Like, you tried to fill this with food, then drugs and alcohol, and now prestige, and none of it.
Nothing's going to fill the void.
None of it. And I got sober 2 weeks.
Check it out. At Planet Fitness, you can get free fitness training.
We're mixing it up.
We're not slowing down. I'm checking my form.
55 lives in 70.
You coming? Save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal extended to Wednesday, April 16th.
Later.
Luckily for Josh, he did not spiral deeper. He understood that he was trying to cure an internal problem with external solutions, and instead he chose the right path forward with therapy and sober living. He basically stayed busy every single year since then, securing a major film, TV, or voice acting role. He even took to social media, becoming one of the most popular creators on the 6-second video app Vine.
Hey, Josh, you just hit 4 million followers. No way. You calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther.
Then again, neither Drake nor Josh's personal troubles made for viral headlines. Sure, TMZ did their standard coverage, and maybe die-hard fans were concerned about the two, but generally speaking, the mainstream fandom were now in high school and college and focusing on their own lives rather than their childhood celebrity favorites. Plus, Drake and Josh were frequently seen together over the years. Here is a photo that Josh posted to his Instagram in 2012 of them hanging out at a house party. Here's another photo of them in 2013 at a Christmas party. In 2014, there were multiple photos of them together. Josh even personally invited Drake to have a cameo in an episode of Grandfathered in 2015, which was a show about a socially awkward yet lovable new dad who unexpectedly reconnects with his suave, restaurant-owning father, played by John Stamos.
You remind me of my stepbrother.
Oh, is he awesome?
No, he's in jail for stalking Oprah. Anyway, Let's get inside so you guys can buy me dinner.
It's time for you to go, Kirk.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Go away. Have a nice night.
Don't tell me what to do.
What? Hug me, brother!
So it seemed like on the surface that Drake and Josh were friends. They were hanging out all the time and even collaborating. But it turns out that these meetups were actually extremely brief and infrequent. Quite literally just a quick little catch up because they happened to be at the same party. Drake actually wanted to be closer to Josh at this time, but was unable to express that to him.
Like when we were hanging out at Michael's a lot and we were just, and like there was, I always felt like, what? Like, man, we're all hanging, like, we got the same, like, we should be closer. There's something, like, I'm like, oh, I'm not cool enough to, like, hang out with Josh. Like, oh, no, he's, I'm not, like, I'm not funny enough. I'm not this, he thinks I'm this, and, like, we were doing the same shit when we really should have just been like, bro, want to go grab some pizza and, like, play some video games?
And the result of this friction between the two would get blown out of proportion, because in 2017, Drake posted 2 tweets about how he was not invited to Josh Peck's wedding, which sent the media into a frenzy, speculating that Drake and Josh had some sort of falling out. When you're not invited to the wedding, the message is clear. True colors have come out today. Message is loud and clear. Ties are officially cut. I'll miss you, brother. From there, Drake also did a few interviews where he discussed his feelings about not receiving the invite, but he still expressed nothing but grace for Josh.
Friend, you're talking to your friend and you're congratulating him on, oh, I'm so glad you're engaged, congratulate, blah blah blah, and then you see on social media that he had a wedding, and I go, what? I didn't hear about it, I didn't know about it, and so I shot from the hip and kind of was like, what? This is wrong. Like, why am I finding out about this on social media? I just felt like a bummed out brother, just kind of hurt, but it had nothing to, it does nothing to our relationship. We're brothers, we're friends. He's been one of my dearest friends for the past 18 years.
Josh was receiving a ton of hate for not inviting Drake to the wedding, and it really cast a dark cloud over this special night. The next time Josh saw Drake, which was at the VMAs in 2017, he asked Drake to apologize to his wife Paige for the tweets, and Drake happily did.
And I remember that I was at the Video Music Awards and I see him there and he sees me and I go up to him and this might be the most Sopranos thing I've ever done. And I look at him and I go apologize to my wife right now. And he goes, okay. And he made a beeline for my wife and I see him do this whole 5-minute performance of an apology. And it was I was like, go apologize to my wife or something bad's gonna happen.
After Josh claims to have intimidated Drake, he ran up behind him and put a camera in Drake's face to vlog their reunion moment to show the public that they didn't have any real beef.
If you want to get your name, phone number, and address off the internet, but want to handle the removals yourself, Opter.
Holy come on. What's up, buddy? Is this happening right now live is this really right now live?
Stream live right now.
Oh my god.
Please
wait,
tell
is this
Facebook
streaming?
to be nice to me. Oh my god,
Please.
it's not even my fault. Just tell Facebook to be nice to me.
Listen, lay off.
Thank you. You heard that, Facebook? It's all good.
Chill out.
We love you.
Lay off, man. Alright,
I got $100 for it.
Drake and his ex-wife Janet said that this moment was actually sincere. The couples exchanged numbers and went out to dinner multiple times afterwards, seemingly rekindling their friendship. They even did some content together as Josh was pursuing YouTube very seriously.
That's Drake. That's Josh.
And it's all love, people.
Back together again. We're all good.
That's amazing.
Alright. So, wedding looked like it sucked anyway.
Oh, f*** you.
F me? You know what? Mom never even liked you.
She's not our mom. We're not on a TV show.
We now know exactly why Drake was not invited to the wedding. On their most recent podcast, Josh revealed that Drake wasn't singled out. It's just that nobody from the Drake and Josh cast was invited. The only person from Nickelodeon that was invited to Josh's wedding was Dan Schneider, because his wife was friends with Josh's mom.
I love you. I love Miranda. There's so many people that I probably would now at 38 wanted there. But at 30, I just wanted to leave it all behind.
Yep.
Because it felt like it didn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
And the realization I had was when, you wrote that stuff during my wedding about our friendship and all these things and our love and our history. I think you were living in the world of where our relationship should have been.
Right.
I was too much living in the past of when our relationship wasn't great.
Yeah.
And it was really somewhere in the middle.
At the time, Josh felt that he and Drake grew apart, but it was really that Josh wanted to leave everything related to Nickelodeon in the past, including a close friendship with Drake. This stung extra hard for Drake because he actually wanted to be closer to Josh, but because neither of them actually communicated how they felt on the inside, it resulted in this huge wedding blowout. It's also important to realize that this conversation that they had on this podcast in 2025 never was communicated before. So despite Drake and Josh publicly making up in 2017 and making all this content together, they never really addressed the problem. And then something weird started to happen. As Drake continued to do press for different projects, he still seemed bothered by the wedding drama. He seems awfully sarcastic and throwing shade towards Josh in interviews.
I don't know. Josh is busy doing stuff.
I'm sensing some shade.
No shade at all. I love the kid. We're just super. The thing is we're just so busy. Like, I'm constantly on tour. He's constantly at David Dobrik's house. And, there's like not a lot of time to really.
Did he ever tell you why he didn't invite you? Did you ever get a reason?
He doesn't like me.
Stop. Is that really what it is?
Yeah, and the extra chicken would have been really expensive. Like another $7.95 or something like that.
This interview got 6 million views, and all the comments were all taking Drake's side. Remember when Drake was the cocky one and Josh was the sweet and calm one in the show? But now it's the opposite. It seems as Josh sees him as just a coworker.
Alright. Yeah, we're gonna do this, the second part of the video.